want to talk a little bit about the difference between Mooji, Papaji, and Ramana Maharshi. The essence of the teachings is self-inquiry until the recognition and abiding in the self is complete. You could say that silence, staying in silence is effortless in the sense that there's no strong identification coming back anymore and pulling you towards the illusion of form. And Ramana Maharshi used self-inquiry in terms of the question, am I that, or who am I? The question was, who am I? So when you see something, when you're aware of something, you ask yourself, who am I? And by inquiring, not really conceptually or with words or thoughts, but by looking really who you are, you get kind of kicked back into your real self, where you are aware of awareness itself. And then suddenly silence comes and you just are. And Papaji was a student of Ramana Maharshi, and he did the same thing, but he used more words and he did more satsang, whereas Ramana Maharshi was more silent. He would rarely talk. Papaji would talk more. And he would do the satsangs. People would come to him and ask. And then Papaji would say, stay as that. Stay as that. Don't go into past and future. Stay as that. So he was much more verbal. And then Mooji came along and he added many other things to it. For example, that he has women around him, that he lives more like almost like a normal dude, but with people around him that form the sangha. So he lives with a sangha, people who are living, try to be the living expression of this non-dual recognition. But there's also a lot of other normal human things going on there. And so they all do have a little bit of a different approach and a different philosophy. And Mooji, he does long satsangs also, where he takes a lot of time per person to really look and get them to awaken, at least before Corona. I don't know how it's now, until the person really awakens to itself and the person kind of vanishes. But sometimes there's also, which is not necessarily his fault, but there's sometimes also instrumentalization of the ego. And sometimes she's in some instances he seems short-tempered. Just got a message on my German Telegram. By the way, I have an English Telegram you can come into. He said one of my titles was very offensive. Offensive, but in a positive way. Not offensive means something else in German than in English. It means like aggressive, positively aggressive. And so, but my awakening has come through Mooji. Definitely, I watched 1 year long. Every hour, I watched Mooji Satsang from the beginnings. And my awakening was 5 years ago or something. Was it 5 years ago? I confuse it all the time. No, it's longer. 7 years ago. Oh my god, 7 years already. And so without Ramana and Papaji, there would be no Mooji. And I believe them all three to be, for me, the most important teachers that ever existed, because that's in a timeline where we have that information readily available on the internet, whereas before it would have been maybe text written down somewhere which you could not access. So we are in a very lucky position to be able to listen to these spiritual teachers.